All right, so today the game is to have a conversation with something that is very old. And I did say something instead of someone because this is going to be something that is not a human. All right, so right away it's silly, and we have to be willing to do something ridiculous like have a conversation with something instead of someone, but really it's not so ridiculous. I mean, number one, there are findings and evidence that show that when you are willing to make things in your life that are usually objects and not subjects, like a person, more into a subject, more into a person, more into something that has its own life and its own right to be, that actually adds to your life. It adds to the wonder and the magic and just, the enjoyment and fullness of life that you feel because, things are not just dead objects. Life has other entities in them. You're surrounded by things that all have their own right to be. So that's kind of one element of it. But the other thing is we want to pick something that's old, something that is almost like an ancestor, or thinking of ancestors a different way, because we think of ancestors as like, humans or people that have been our blood relatives. But no, this takes it even further and just makes you stop and think like, okay, what about an entity like water? I mean, it's very old and it's a thing. It's not a person, but water is such an old spirit and such an old soul, and it's a part of us. We are all made from water, that in a way, it's totally an ancestor. So we're picking things that are very, very old, that have this old energy to them. So it could be like a tree or a star or a planet, or it could be like an archetype, like the warrior archetype, or something that, is an old concept, an old archetype or persona that exists, or even something like Venus or the goddess of love or something like that, where it signifies or has in the past been this old archetype for the merging or coming together of everything. Or you could talk to love itself, which again is a thing and not necessarily a human, but has this really old energy. And it would be kind of false to say that it's not an ancestor. I mean, it is. We come from love. We are made of love. It feels like it has been so ingrained in making us who we are, or even just the ideas that we have and the way that we understand the world. It's such a part of that it's an ancestor in some sort of way. That same way that blood ancestors are like little fragments or related elements to us. They have parts of them, or their blood, or their shared blood. We consider them ancestors for that reason. And, love, oh my gosh, particles and bits of it are definitely all through us and have influenced everything about us. So yes, you could absolutely have a conversation with love. But the point is to have a real conversation with it. Not just like, oh, okay, yeah, hey, love, what's up? A real conversation. Like, sit aside an hour, maybe less, but like 30 minutes. I bet it'll go an hour, because when I've done this, it goes in a direction that you don't expect. You sit down and you're thinking, I got to get this over with or done with. And it turned into this amazing conversation that I wanted to have for an hour. But yeah, sit aside real time, sit down, and freaking pour a glass of whatever you're having, some sparkling water or whatever, and really sit with it. Like if you were inviting a friend over to hang out, set it up so that there's going to be some quality time and a real conversation, and ask questions that just come to you off the cuff, or listen mostly, or, prepare questions. Just have a conversation. And legitimately, you do end up having a conversation with yourself, sort of, because you're sort of just like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just, you got to be willing to be a little goofy That's why it's a game. That's what this is about. It's about stretching your willingness, stretching what's possible, trying something else, and seeing what happens, because it was really cool for me. Try to talk with something old, have a conversation. It can be a one-sided conversation where you're just telling love, or that star that you always look at out your bedroom window, or that tree that you sit next to when you're waiting on catching your ride or whatever. About how you're doing. It could be like having a friend, getting them to listen, and, having an ear, and you're just having this one-sided conversation, letting them know what's up. But it also could be questions like, love, why is this the case? Why did you do me wrong here? What's going on with this? And then you kind of end up answering your own questions as you're talking, because you're like, oh, well, was it because, love is really actually supposed to be a teacher, and you can't just teach me the positive lessons, you have to teach me the negative lessons too? Oh, yeah, was that it, love? Okay, I'm guessing that's what you're saying. Or, that kind of thing. So yeah, sure. But it becomes like things come through you, and you start getting to this place where you're answering your own questions, and I don't know, you feel friendship. You actually feel friendship. Maybe you're telling your real heart's desires, and you feel real friendship. So, give it a whirl and see if there is also, the other reason I wanted it to be something that was really old was because there's old energy. There is stuff that's a part of you. There's wisdom. So that's what I'm hoping will come forward, is just connect yourself to, because even if you're not like having a conversation and you're like not necessarily feeling that anything is particularly getting answered back to you. Although you might actually feel like, dude, I feel like I, heard some answers, or not, like whatever. Either way, what it's about is calling attention to and really putting your focus on some old energy that has some wisdom in it, like water. Wow, water, you are so beautiful. I haven't really gotten to take the time to know you. How are you so strong, but so fluid? What is this like? And, how do you retain temperature so well? And you're just like so fierce. You can't be shaken. And I don't know, just you're having a conversation, but it forces you to call some focus on and really look at, just like when you're having a conversation with a human, you have to really look at that person and notice things about them and give your attention to that person, and it calls them into your awareness. And if they're an old energy, then they're going to have wisdom just in you noticing them, just in you noticing the role that they play in life, the attributes that they have, the role that they play in your life, the way that they're your ancestor, the way that they have kind of been a part of you. And, whether it's like water, and it's like, wow, whenever I get near water, I feel like I'm so at home, or that time at the beach, or the water that runs through my body and my veins, you make me. And I'm standing in awe over the fact that I am water. And, wow, you are my ancestor, more so than my actual ancestors, because there's more direct water in me than there are pieces of all those ancestors in me, or blood from those ancestors in me. Whatever it is, when you call focus to it, stuff comes up, stuff comes out. It'll be interesting to just, give it a try and pick something old. And in fact, pick something to have a conversation with different every week if you want, or every day if you want. Like, see how this goes, but at least do one full on committed conversation, and then we will see, if you feel inclined. I definitely did, to do some more and do as many as you want, to get as creative as you want with who you're having these conversations with. And, I'm pretty sure you're going to get something from it either way.